we'll start by arriving on our mats in a comfortable kneeling position, maybe sitting up on a block or a thickly folded blanket. And we'll bring our hands together behind our backs for a reverse prayer. Palms joined together with the fingers facing upward, sliding the hands as high up the spine as is comfortable. Another option would be to grab onto opposite elbow, or maybe bringing the hands together in fists and pressing them in towards one another. Wherever you are, sitting up nice and tall and drawing the shoulder blades in towards each other, finding the stretch throughout the chest, shoulders, wrists, and forearms, closing down the eyes and bringing the awareness inward. Take a deep inhale through the nose, and out the mouth, just let it go. 2 more like that. Big inhale, and out the mouth, let it go. 1 more time. Inhale. Sigh it out, any stress, just let it go. Allow your breath to find a natural, gentle rhythm, breathing in and out of the nose, as you give yourself permission to really indulge into this practice, letting go of everything that happened before class and everything you have going on afterwards. Just allowing yourself to relax and to release. Deep inhales and long, slow exhales. Release the arms out in front of you. Turn 90 degrees, facing the long side of your mat. Legs spread out to either side. Maybe placing a block or a folded blanket under the sit bones for support here. On an inhale, sit up nice and tall. And on the exhale, slowly crawl your hands forward to your own degree. And for anyone who's new to Yin Yoga, we'll be holding these floor stretches anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes. And the benefit of this is that it puts positive stress, positive pressure onto the connective tissue, which is the web of tissues that run throughout the entire body. They connect everything from the skin all the way down to the nucleus of every single cell. Holding deep stretches for an extended period of time is the only way to work deep into these connective tissues. And when we work deep into the connective tissue, it starts to open up and spread, which in turn moisturizes the joints and increases circulation, allowing old cells to get washed away so that new cells can be fed and created. This process has been proven to slow down and even reverse the aging process within the body, which is why Yin Yoga is often referred to as the fountain of youth. And there are 3 stages within each Yin pose. The first stage is to find your edge, to find that deep stretch within the pose. And just like with everything, you never want to go too far, just a gentle lean into it. The second stage is to get as still as possible. If you need to make a few adjustments here and there, that's fine, but we really want to avoid being fidgety here. A still body equals a still mind. So right now, just making sure you've eliminated all distractions. The TV isn't on, and your phone is somewhere out of sight and out of mind. And the third phase is just time, 2 to 4 minutes, focusing on the breath and the stretch as we allow our bodies to open up, release, and relax. The longer we hold these postures, the deeper we go. And the deeper we go, the more we can release and heal. There's no need to worry about the time. I'll be taking care of the clock. So right now, nice and easily, slowly transition all the way back up. Bring your legs together and swivel towards the front edge of your mat. Go ahead and cross your legs, your shins. Bring your feet behind you to a tabletop position, coming up onto all fours. And we'll go for a couple rounds of cat-cow. So on an inhale, drop the belly, lift the chin, looking up. And on the exhale, curl and round the spine, looking up at your navel. Continue moving with your breath, slowing down, maybe closing down the eyes, and really feeling into the movement. Opening up and creating space within the spine. And wherever you are, coming back to a neutral position. Come down onto the forearms and slide the legs out behind you, coming into Sphinx pose. The elbows are underneath the shoulders. The forearms are parallel, with the middle fingers pointing directly in front of you. Gentle press of the lower belly down into the ground. Option to rest the forehead on top of a block to support the weight of the head. Or another option would be to bring the hands to prayer, balancing on the elbows and resting the third eye space onto the thumbs. The goal is to get comfortable, so just doing whatever feels right for you and for your body. Working deep into the connective tissue that surrounds the spine, allowing it to open and release, creating space and flexibility within the spine. So much of our day is spent hunched over, which is why counteractive backward bending postures like this one are so important. Now staying where you are, or option to come into seal pose, taking the hands out a little wider, turning the fingertips outward, and pressing down into the hands as you start to work the arms towards straight. And for some people, this pose is too much. So if it's too much for you, just stay in Sphinx. Yoga is the opposite of a one-size-fits-all approach. What can be beneficial for one body can be toxic for another body. So just staying wherever it is that feels comfortable and right for you. Because part of being a yogi is having the wisdom to know how far you can push yourself, while still showing yourself some love and compassion. Just a couple more breaths here. And slowly releasing, hips to the heels for a transitional child's pose. Arms can stay wide, with the option of bringing the knees out a little wider as well, maybe the width of the mat. Closing down the eyes and connecting to the breath. And from here, we'll go for a gentle breathing exercise. Breathing in and out of the nose, knowing you can use this technique at any time throughout practice. So let's begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Last one. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause. Allow your breath to come back to its natural rhythm, breathing in and out of the nose. And we'll come back through a tabletop, all fours position. And from here, go ahead and tuck the toes, lift the hips, and press back into a downward facing dog. Feel free to shift around a bit, pedaling out the feet as we start to open up through the spine and the back of the legs. On an inhale, nice and easily, right leg lifts off the mat. And on the exhale, stepping it forward between the hands. Relax the left knee down to the mat, untuck the toes. Bring the right hand to the inside of the right foot and heel toe the right foot over a couple of inches, creating space, setting up for dragon pose. Staying here, or option to start to bend through the elbows, lowering down onto the forearms. Maybe placing a block underneath the forearm or underneath the hands. You may have one forearm down, you may be up on the fingertips. Just know that there's no right or wrong way to do the pose. Breathing deep into the hip and into the groin. Maybe feeling that stretch throughout the left hip flexor. Becoming aware of any tension you might be holding throughout the body, and just seeing how much you can release and let go. Focusing on the breath and breathing into the stretch. Just a couple more breaths here. And from here, go ahead and slowly come all the way back up onto the hands. Bring the right hand to the outside of the right foot and heel toe the foot all the way over to the left side of the mat. Let your right knee open towards the right so the shin is parallel with the front of the mat, coming into pigeon pose. The left leg is long and straight out behind you. Option to place a block under the front hip or the left thigh. On an inhale, lift through the chest. And on the exhale, slowly start to crawl the hands forward to your own degree. You can use the forearms for support here, or maybe crawling the hands all the way out so the forehead can rest gently onto the floor. Option to place a block underneath the forehead for support. allowing the weight of the skull to be supported here. Just breathing and relaxing into it, working deep into the largest space within the body, the hip joint, which is where we store a lot of emotions like stress and anxiety. So just being aware of how you're feeling here, knowing it's perfectly normal for emotional thoughts and memories to arise. One of the many benefits of Yin Yoga is that it forces us to sit with these feelings so that we can deal with them and then release them, creating space for new and exciting energy. Just a few more breaths here. Very slowly, start to crawl your hands back up, taking your time. And from here, lean over onto the right sit bone, swing both legs out in front of you, and go ahead and shake out the legs. Pick up the left leg and place it over the right, so the two knees are stacked right on top of one another. The left heel is near the right sit bone, setting up for half shoelace. On an inhale, sit up straight, nice flat back. And on the exhale, slowly crawl the hands forward to your own degree. Feeling the tremendous stretch down the entire back side of the leg. Coming into a position that feels right for you. Finding that stillness. And just holding here. As adults, we're really good at holding on and gripping to things. We're really good at attachment. And it's a lot easier to attach ourselves to something or to someone or to a certain feeling than it is to release. Releasing can be tough. It can be really scary to release and let go at times. So right now, just challenging yourself to go up to that edge, to find the release, and to let go. Go ahead and crawl those hands back up to the hips. Bend the right knee in underneath the left ankle to right knee to right ankle. Coming into fire log pose. Shins parallel to the front of the mat. Maybe placing a block or a thickly folded blanket under the top knee for support. Or option to come into an easy seated position if this hip opener is too intense. Wherever you are, on an inhale, sitting up nice and tall, and on the exhale, slowly walking the hands forward to your own degree, hinging at the hips. Allowing a nice, gentle stream of breath to move easily in and out of the nose. And if you're feeling a large amount of tension and tightness, maybe you want to deepen the breath. Nothing too crazy, just allowing the breath to soften the tension. Breathing deep into that hip, working deep into the connective tissue, allowing the body to soften and the mind to quiet. Noticing the tension start to release as you start to make your way even deeper into the pose. And slowly coming out of it, lean back onto the hands and slowly start to windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Just feeling into the echo of what you just did. And knowing that it's perfectly normal to feel 90 years old after coming out of some of these postures. It's all part of the process. Go ahead and make your way back up into a tabletop position, all fours. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, drop the head, and press it back into a downward facing dog. Moving around a bit, taking your dog on a little walk. And nice and easily lift the right leg off the mat on an inhale and step it forward between the hands. Release the left knee down to the mat, untuck the toes, coming into a deep lunge. And then half splits. Pull your hips back, balancing on the right heel. Right toes face the sky. Keeping your hips square and stacked over the left knee. Option to stay here in half splits, or you can start to move toward your variation of the full splits. Starting to slide that front foot forward towards the top of your yoga mat. And if you're somewhere in between a half and a full split, it could be beneficial to work with blocks. Maybe placing a block or two underneath the sit bones or a thickly folded blanket if you don't have blocks. Another option would be to place them underneath the hands, using as many blocks, as many props as you need here. at whatever height you need to find a deep, comfortable stretch within the pose. And you may be really, really far from doing the full splits. But if you keep doing this yin practice, if you keep showing up, eventually that stubborn tension will start to release. And you're going to be in a whole other depth of this pose. And when you eventually do reach the full splits, you'll realize that that's not what really matters. What matters is what you learn along the way. What matters is the journey and the discipline. What matters is the hard work and everything that you move through. Yin Yoga teaches us that there's a process for everything, and that process isn't always easy. It's not easy to be still. It's not easy to calm the mind. To be able to be with an experience that's uncomfortable, to not run away from it, to not fidget, to just breathe through it with the knowledge and the wisdom that, like all things, this too shall pass. These are the lessons that are really going to help us throughout our everyday lives. So using this time to train the mind to remain calm, steady, and at peace, no matter the external circumstances. Using our breath to ease the tension, to quiet the mind, so that we can just release and relax into it. Just a couple more breaths here. And very slowly, gently tuck the back toes, coming out of it best you can, and pressing back into a downward facing dog. Shifting around and really feeling into what you just did. These stretches go deep, sometimes all the way down into the bones. Nice and easy, on an inhale, left leg lifts off the mat. And on the exhale, bringing the foot forward in between the hands for a deep runner's lunge. Relax the right knee onto the floor, untuck the right toes. Bring the left hand to the inside of the left foot. Heel toe the left foot over to the left a couple of inches, creating space. Staying here, or bending through the elbows, lowering down onto the forearms. Maybe placing a block underneath the forearms or underneath the hands. Knowing that wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. Finding your edge, finding that deep stretch. And then simply holding, relaxing into it, and allowing time to do its thing. And releasing. From here, go ahead and come all the way back up. Bring the left hand to the outside of that left foot and heel toe the foot all the way over to the right side of the mat. Allow the left knee to open up towards the left, shin parallel with the front of the mat, coming into pigeon pose. The right leg is long and straight out behind you. Maybe experimenting here by seeing how it feels to slide the right knee back a little further. On an inhale, growing out of the waist, and on the exhale, slowly starting to crawl the hands forward. Using your blocks and props however you need them. Maybe placing a block under the front hip, the right thigh, or it might feel nice to place one underneath the forehead, supporting the weight of the skull. Just feeling and connecting back to the breath. Yin Yoga isn't about effort. It's not about how far or how deep you can get into the pose, but rather how much can you let go. If you're like me, you may tend to tense through the shoulders or through the neck. So just becoming aware of any tension you may be holding, anything you might be gripping onto, and just simply letting it go. And if at any time your mind starts to wander, simply noting it and coming back to the breath. Deep, slow inhales and long, slow exhales. Allowing the breath to soften and melt away any tension. Last few breaths here. Go ahead and walk the hands back into the body. Slowly lean over onto the left sit bone. Swing your legs out in front of you. Pick up the right leg and place it over the left, 2 knees stacked right on top of one another. On an inhale, sit up, nice flat back. And on the exhale, slowly crawl the hands forward to your own degree. Feeling the tremendous stretch down the back of the legs. Going as deep as feels comfortable, as deep as feels good. Finding the stillness. And just holding here. Keeping the awareness on the breath and on the stretch. Breathing into what you're feeling. And noticing the body starting to release the longer you hold the pose. Go ahead and crawl those hands back up to the hips. Then the left knee in underneath the right ankle to left knee to left ankle. Shins parallel to the front of the mat. Maybe placing a block or a thickly folded blanket under the top of the knee for support here. Just finding your variation of the pose. And wherever you are, on an inhale, sitting up nice and straight, and slowly walking the hands forward, hinging at the hips on the exhale. Slowing down the breath. Quieting the mind. And holding within the stillness. And if your mind starts to wander, just simply becoming aware of your thoughts. Knowing that there's no place you need to be. There's nothing you need to do. But stay here, within the present moment. Focusing on the breath. Working deep into the connective tissue. Allowing the fascia to spread throughout the entire body. Moisturizing the joints. Last few breaths here. Then release, coming out of it, leaning back onto the hands, and slowly windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Releasing any tension, and just taking the time to move around the energy. Making your way back up into a tabletop position, shoulders above the wrists, hips above the knees. Tuck the toes, press into the hands, lift through the hips, downward facing dog. Pedaling out the feet here, and just shifting the weight from side to side, feeling into the space you've created within the body. On an inhale, nice and easy, left leg rises, and on the exhale, step it between the hands. Lower the back knee, untuck the back toes, and then half splits. Draw the hips back, left toes to the sky. And if you'd like, starting to slide your left heel forward to your own degree, traveling and working towards your version of the full splits. Using the props for support here. Finding your place. And just breathing into it. Every time you show up for this yin practice, every time you get on your mat and you put in the time, you're going to see progress. Slowly, gradually, that tension will begin to melt away. just takes consistency. And if you're having a hard time controlling the mind, controlling the fidgets, maybe silently within your mind, going back to that 4-count breathing. Breathing in for the count of 4. Holding for the count of 4. Exhaling for the count of 4. And pausing. Last few breaths here. Slowly and gently tuck the back toes, coming out of the posture best you can, before pushing back into a downward facing dog. Walk those feet out, pedal out the tension, move it around. We'll give it one last inhale, gently press the hips back, and on the exhale, releasing the knees down to the mat. Walk the knees forward, cross the feet behind you, and recline all the way down onto your back. Hug the knees into the chest. Extend the left leg straight out in front of you. Arms elongate out to the side like a T. Drop the right knee across the body, coming into a gentle twist. Gaze can be up at the ceiling or over towards the right, wherever's comfortable. Option to rest the left hand on the knee if it feels good. And releasing, untwisting out. Hug the knees back into the chest. Extend the right leg out in front of you this time, arms out like a T. And go ahead and drop that left knee over towards the right. Positioning your hands and your neck wherever you'd like. And releasing. Hug both knees into the chest. Give yourself a little hug, showing yourself a little gratitude. And on an inhale, bring the forehead in to meet the knees like a little ball. And on the exhale, releasing and relaxing down into your final resting pose, Shavasana. Legs extend out in front of you. Arms rest gently, palms face up next to the body. Closing down the eyes and connecting to the breath. Using this time to really maximize on the relaxation component of today's practice. Feeling into every in-breath and allowing your body to relax and melt into the mat with every out-breath. nice and easily, slowly start to bring some awareness back into the body. This class is officially over, but feel free to stay here for as long as you'd like. I'd like to thank you for showing up today and for flowing with me. If you'd like more practices, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and comment below letting me know where in the world you're practicing from and if you have any requests for future classes. The love and light in me recognizes that same love and light in you. From here we'll say, Namaste.